Hello, hello. Ooh, it's working. Thank you, Kendall. Hello. All right. We got 10 seconds. Thank you. All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. It's great to be here, as always. Some of you may have noticed that there were a few weeks where I was missing in action. Some of you know my wife Amy, she had COVID, and she's fully recovered now, and she's fine. It was kind of brutal. But what was I'll say this because she's not here. The most challenging part of it, for me at least, not for her, because she was the one that was sick, was just dealing with the logistics of life. Because we have a 2.5-year-old, and so we're like, okay, like, how are we going to do this? And she tested positive, and so she stayed in a different bedroom, and she always had a mask on in the house, and we're trying to keep the 2-year-old away from mom as much as possible. And then he couldn't go to his daycare because they didn't want him in daycare, understandably, because of the household exposure. But then we didn't want to just leave him home with mom all day because we wanted to keep them separated. So it was a wild few weeks, and like every day she would take a test and I would take a test, and Ezra would take a test, or we'd force a test on him. He got used to it after a while. And like every day we were like, still positive, so positive. It was a good 2 weeks that she was out of commission. But she is doing great now. Ezra is back at school, as we call it, and life is back to, whatever normal means these days, right? So if anyone was trying to get a hold of me or stopped by my office or called and I was not there, I apologize, but I'm back. All right, I got a bunch of stuff on my list that I want to go over. But there's a few things that I want to make sure I mention before I forget. This afternoon at 4:00 is the meet and greet. And that's, I believe, why there are tables set up around the room. And so it's a great opportunity to meet fellow residents, new residents. And we have a couple of new residents with us today, Mr. Mark, Brian, and remind me of your name. Run Hong Wong. That's right. Welcome. You moved in last month? March 4th. Okay. Well, we're so glad that you're here. And you've just moved in 2 weeks ago. Awesome. Well, we're glad that you're here as well. Are there any other new residents here with us? All right. Well, hopefully everyone's able to join this afternoon at 4:00. Let's see, and a couple of other upcoming events or activities to be aware of. On Sunday, there's an interfaith service that'll be focused on remembering those who have served, and that will be facilitated and led by Mrs. and Mr. Barish. So that'll be this Sunday at 3 p.m. Here in the GRA. All are welcome to attend. And a reminder, next week on Thursday is our monthly State of the Business meeting. So we won't have a community chat like this, But next Thursday, since it's the first Thursday of the month, we'll meet at 3:30 for State of Business here in the GRA. And let's see what else. Also next week, kind of a busy week next week. We are going to be having a photo shoot here at the community. And so we have a team of photographer and designers and lighting technicians and I don't know who else that will be here at the community, various parts of the community, sometimes indoors, sometimes outdoors. They're arriving on Tuesday afternoon, and then they'll be here Wednesday, Thursday, and I believe Friday. So if you see someone that looks like paparazzi throughout the community, they're legit and they've been invited to be here. And I know some residents have been working with Linda and the sales and marketing team to participate in that photo shoot. And anyways, we appreciate it. Hopefully it won't be too much of a disturbance or an inconvenience in any way. But to appreciate everyone's patience if if they get in the way. Hopefully they won't, but they might. I don't know. It's gonna be on Wednesday, Thursday, and I believe Friday as well. The second, third, and fourth. Yeah. Or the third, fourth, and fifth. Yeah, next week. It's next week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Yeah. So I don't have the calendar in front of me. And I wanted to thank everyone that participated in the planning and execution of, and all those that attended I know it's been a few weeks now, but the memorial service. I think it was an impactful event, and I think it was very well needed by our community. And I don't know if, actually thinking back on it, I don't know if it was recognized or acknowledged, but the beautiful art that was here in the front was a piece that was made by Ms. Wheaton. So thank you, Ms. Wheaton, for sharing that with us for that special day. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah. I think Cindy, man, isn't she awesome? She's just been a great addition to our community. And I've been thinking back, actually, because we have no surprise to anybody. We have a few open positions here at the Terraces. And actually, Christy McKinney, who's our HR director, she's probably going to be joining us shortly. And I asked her to kind of give a couple of updates on some recruitment efforts that we've been making. But I was thinking about some of our critical, all of our positions are critical, but some of our positions that are sometimes more challenging to fill. And some of our leadership positions are, we have assisted living manager position that we're in the process of recruiting for. We have an activities coordinator position for assisted living as well that we're in the process of recruiting for, and some dining leadership positions as well. And I'm not always the most patient person in the world. And I'm like, we have got to hire people like now. And I often find myself in this sort of difficult mental position of trying to decide, okay, do we hire somebody because somebody's better than nobody? Or do we wait a little bit longer and search a little harder until we find the person that is really the right fit? And I think in the end, there's really a combination of both, because nobody's perfect, and you're very rarely are you going to find a perfect candidate for any position. But I think looking back on our spiritual care director position, that was a position that we had open for a really long time, and we had met with a lot of people for that position. And I think seeing what Cindy's been able to contribute to the community, and really the relatively brief time that she's been with us, really sort of reinforces to me that, how important it is, to wait till we find the right people. But man, it can be hard, and it can be frustrating for me, but also obviously for residents as well. So anyways, appreciate everyone's patience as we seek to find the right people for some of our current open positions. We have just a couple of updates on some of those positions. Morrison Living, who's our contracted dining services partner, all of so that you're aware of how the sort of structure works. The leadership of the dining services team are technically employees of Morrison Living. So that's our chefs, our sous chefs, dining room manager, dining services director. And so they are all technically hired and employed by Morrison Living. And then all of the other team members are team members of Human Good, or the Terrace of Los Gatos. And so the executive chef and the dining services director position, the way that the process works is the Morrison team, they're responsible for all the recruitment efforts and going through all of the screening and interviewing process of candidates. And then when they have a candidate for any of their positions that they feel like could be the right fit, they will present them to us at the community level and give us an opportunity to meet them and have an interview with them. And in some cases, we have them meet with advisory board members or residents before a final decision is made. So there have been a couple of different dining services directors candidates that have been presented to us, none of which we have decided to move forward with. We have the opportunity to meet with another candidate that's being presented to us tomorrow morning. And so looking forward to meeting with that candidate. On paper, they look great. And we'll see how that goes. So there's also an executive chef that was actually just interviewed this morning. I think it was a second interview with the Morrison team. And so that chef hasn't officially been presented to us yet, but may be presented to us soon. So there's definitely a lot of effort and a lot of activity going on to find the right people to fill those key positions. But we don't have any definitive decisions made at this point. On the subject of dining services, some of you may have seen a news item that was up on TLG Connect. Robin, who's our nutrition care manager, also registered dietitian, super excited that she has now board certified registered dietitian with board certification in gerontological nutrition, which is an accomplishment, sort of an elevated credential for registered dietitians. So there's a lot of energy and time put into studying, preparing for the exams, getting ready to get her board certification. I know it's something that I was talking to her last night. she's like, I didn't tell anybody. She didn't tell anyone when she was going to take the exam. And anyways, we're very, very proud of her. And if you see her, definitely extend your congratulations to her. It's great to see her, growing. And that's one of our primary goals, especially as we're really focusing on our retention efforts, is finding opportunities for our team members to grow and develop within their chosen career paths. And on that note, there's some really great activity going on with our scholarship programs. There's Foster Family Education Fund is a scholarship fund that we have for team members. And there's also a Human Good Education Fund, which also provides financial support for team members that are continuing their education. We currently have, I believe, 8 pending applications, which are all in various stages of the approval process of team members that are continuing their education. Many of them are caregivers that are going to school to become certified nursing assistants, which is great. We have a class, we have, I think, 4 or 5 current team members that are in a class that graduates, I believe, next week, which is exciting. And we have a few nurses as well that are continuing their nursing education paths as well. So great work being done by the Foster Family Education Fund Committee, and we're excited for those team members. Let's see. Window washing. Window washing is coming up. It's been a little while. So the second half of June, there's a schedule that has been put up on TLG Connect, and I believe it'll probably be in the weekly updates tomorrow. The schedule for window washing, all of the apartments throughout the community, June 15th through June 29th. And they'll go building by building. And Vincent has created a schedule that kind of goes day by day, I think. So hopefully everyone will know at least what days they're scheduled for. I don't know how granular the schedule will be. I don't know if we'll be able to know exactly what time of day they'll may be at your apartments. But like I said, information is up on TLG Connect and will probably be in the weekly updates tomorrow as well. And feel free to follow up with Vincent if you have any more specific questions about it. I know they're going to be washing exterior and interior windows, and cleaning and repairing screens as needed. And yeah, I think that's it. If you leading up to it, if you have a bunch of stuff around your windows to help make the process go a little bit easier, quicker, if you can help create a clear path to the windows, I know that the team would appreciate it. From what I understand, there will be because they'll be washing the exterior and interior windows. I think they'll be doing everything from through your apartments. And so there'll be a TLG team member, I think probably Wazid, I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But I believe there'll be a TLG team member that will be with the contracted workers as they go through everyone's apartments to get your windows washed. Let's see. Anyone want to talk about COVID? All right. All right, we will though. I'll just give a couple quick updates. I can't help myself. I'm sorry. We've seen, obviously, over the course of the last few weeks in the greater community and here within our community, we've seen a little bit of an increase in positive cases. as of this morning, we had 3 team members and 1 resident that are currently positive. There may be changes to that. I don't want to spread any rumors. I think I had heard, but I don't have any details just before coming in, that another team member had tested positive outside the community. But we'll get another update out probably tomorrow. But it went up a little higher than that for a little while. Not too bad, knock on wood. But numbers seem to be, at least here at the community, going back down a little bit. I think it's just an unfortunate reality of who knows how long, but we're going to continue to have cases. I don't know, forever maybe. But hopefully it won't get to the extent where we need to make significant changes to our operations like we've had to do before, closing dining rooms or canceling group events like this. Any COVID related questions? Any burning questions? Yes, Mr. Mark. It's a great question. So the question is essentially, what's our community's policies regarding COVID vaccinations? And there's a few different components. There's vaccinations as they relate to residents, team members, and visitors, and the guidelines are a little bit different for all of those. For residents, the policy is essentially there's no policy. We strongly encourage residents to be fully vaccinated and be up to date on their vaccinations. But ultimately, it's up to the residents and their healthcare providers to make that determination. When you have vaccination, we always want to encourage the residents to provide copies of their vaccination records to our wellness department, so that because we keep track of vaccination rates throughout the community for both residents and team members. So we strongly encourage vaccination, but it's not a requirement. For team members, different story. All team members are required to be fully vaccinated, and fully vaccinated as of now is the initial 2 shots, or the initial shot if it's a J&J, plus 1 booster. So that's what is technically, in terms of team members, considered to be full vaccination. At this point, may change. So team members are required to have those vaccination shots. And there are legally required exceptions for medical reasons and religious purposes. I haven't looked for a little while, but we were, as far as our team member vaccination rate, I think we're 99%. So there were a few exceptions. And as far as visitors go, visitors coming to the community are required to have full vaccination, defined similarly, the initial vaccinations and 1 booster, and or have a negative COVID test that's taken, if it's a PCR test, within 48 hours, or if it's a rapid test within 24 hours of the visit to the community. Clear as mud? Okay. Good question. Thank you. The second booster is not required of visitors or of team members. That may change. I don't know. Well, there's a couple different options. If public health public health, the Department of Public Health could make that decision, and then we as an organization would adopt that decision. We as an organization could make the decision that regardless of what the public health guidelines are, that would be a requirement. But right now, that second booster shot is only for those over a certain age or with certain conditions. So, anyways, we'll see what happens. But as far as I'm aware of, there aren't any plans to make an additional booster a requirement. Any other COVID-related questions or vaccination-related questions? I know it's a pain. Thank you all. Thanks for wearing your masks and doing all the things and putting up with all the, inconveniences that come as a result of COVID. All right, let's see. Yeah, Christy, she was going to be here right at 1:30, and then she let me know that she had an urgent matter that she was taking care of, and then she was going to hopefully be able to join us a little bit later. Parking. Speaking of inconveniences, I know visitor parking is becoming more of a challenge. We kind of ebb and flow in our visitor parking challenges. I know right now we need to increase our efforts to help make sure that contractors and team members are parking in the appropriate designated spaces for team members and not taking up the ever so coveted visitor parking spaces. We also want to encourage all of the residents to park in their designated spaces as well, as much as possible, to keep the visitor parking spaces available. We will be working on some communication out to our team members and reminders out to our team members to make sure that everyone is aware of where they should be parking, and hopefully we'll be able to see a little bit of improvement over the course of the next few days and weeks. So the question is, are the caregivers made aware of where they are supposed to park? And the answer is, there are, we certainly do our best well, I don't know if we do our best. We try really hard to make sure that it's communicated to caregivers. There's a few, there's two caregiving agencies that probably provide, I don't know, 80% of the caregivers here at the community. And we make sure to continually reinforce to the agency, to reinforce to their staff where they need to park. But the reality is there's so many caregivers, and there's others that are maybe hired by residents that we maybe don't even know of. And it's hard to make sure that message is communicated to and reinforced to all of the caregivers. So the answer is, yeah. I mean, not very well is probably the honest answer. If you have caregivers, please ask them to park. And so that you're aware, the appropriate place for team members, including contracted caregivers or other providers, is the parking lot that we share with the church on that side, over there, and not in the visitor parking spots, which are all these ones here, and also the ones over on the side are also technically visitor parking spaces as well. Visitors are certainly welcome to also park in the team member parking lot, but it's obviously further and less convenient. So, yes. Yeah. No, and I appreciate it, and I'll do my best to repeat it so that others hear. It's, I'm going to grossly oversimplify, Ms. Pinks, and I apologize, but the question or the concern or the comment is regarding fees and increases in charges. We had a 5% increase at January 1st. And we've also, you probably saw, we're making some adjustments to some of the additional services, the additional charges for additional services that we hadn't actually increased for a couple of years, but those are going into effect July 1st. And then there's also been some increases to the dining services point charges through some of the ways that they're structuring the menus, it sounds like. And I think there's two, I'll answer it in two parts. The dining services part, I don't have a good answer for, because I'll have to look into that a little bit further, because I'm not totally aware of those changes and adjustments, but I'm glad that you brought it up so that I can look into it. Because with the points, it's a little unique because it's not real money, and so yes, you're correct about that, and I probably didn't say that the right way. On the back end accounting side, on our end, the points aren't necessarily equate to dollars, and so I guess the point of that is there's probably some more flexibility on our end of how we structure the points, so that it's not, double charging or, double dipping as in terms of charges to the residents. Gunilla. Okay. Okay. No, I appreciate that comment as well. I'll I'll definitely do a little digging into both of those issues. I think um uh as far as like the portion sizes of the fish or overall other portion sizes, I I don't want to misspeak, but I don't I wouldn't imagine it's an intentional thing to, okay, let's charge them more money and serve them less food. It's certainly it's not intentional on my end. um, but I'll certainly take it back to our dining services team. I think probably the unfortunate reality of the situation is, as we're in this transition phase of our dining services leadership, there's probably less attention to some of those details that really need attention given to them. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's the comment was, or the suggestion was, for some of the special events, like the brunches or the Mother's Day brunches or the other holidays or barbecues, not just doing a set price, but breaking it down to have the options to make your individual selections and being charged on accordingly. And I think that's a good suggestion. I think historically, sort of, as somebody referred to it the other day, BC, before COVID, for a lot of those events, it was more of an open, traditional, large buffet style experience. And so in those types of situations, it sort of just makes sense to have a kind of a one set charge for sort of a self-service buffet style experience. But it's not exactly how we're doing it now. So I think that's a good suggestion, and I'll take that back to the dining team to see if we can make that happen. Yes, Ms. Cameron. You're absolutely correct. So the comment and suggestion and concern was about the tablets that the servers are using in the dining room. and not consistently working very well. And I'm actually glad that you brought that up. While I was out, I guess it got really bad and the whole system was down for a few days. And I wasn't aware of it until yesterday, the day before, when a resident had mentioned it to me. And I think yesterday again they were down. And okay, perfect. So I've had communication with it's sort of there's a couple different components to it. But I got confirmation this morning that either we have or we will be placing order for all new upgraded tablets that are not the next step up, but like a couple of steps up from what we currently have. That will, what they're telling me is that will resolve the issue. They're looking at the Wi-Fi in there as well to see if any upgrades or changes are needed there. But in short, what you suggested is, yes, that's exactly what we're doing. So yeah. Well, it's tough because you're right that the team members, they're really working really, really hard and doing the best they can. And simultaneously, like, as a resident, like, I could understand how people get frustrated. Like, I'd get frustrated. I was having a conversation with a team, with a resident's family member the other day, and to be frank, they were upset about some of the staffing challenges, and and I just had to tell them, like, yeah, I get it. Like, it's tough. And it definitely impacts the resident experience. And yes, our residents you're all very, very patient and understanding, but it's also still a frustrating situation. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I think, sorry, I kind of got sidetracked, but going back to actually your comment earlier, Ms. Pinkston, about fees and charges, and this all sort of relates, for better or for worse. There's a lot of reasons why employees join our organization. There's a lot of reasons why they stay here within the organization, and there's a lot of reasons why they leave. Historically, it's been kind of the same. How do I say it? Historically, people. Let's see. How does the motivators, team members, employees, the motivations that motivate people to join a company or stay in a company, they're changing. It used to be one good example, and hopefully this example explains it a little better than what I'm trying to do, is there are staffing agencies out there, right? And they provide additional support staffing for communities like ours, or for hospitals, or for other, whatever, any sort of organization. Typically, somebody who works for like a registry company or a staffing company, their hourly wage is a little bit more than somebody that would work, on a fixed schedule, like somewhere like the Terrace de los Gatos. And so one of the draws is historically has been, okay, if you work here, you've got a set schedule, how much money you're going to make at the end of the week. you're going to get a nice benefits package. You're going to have healthcare benefits. You're going to have all of these other things. You're going to get, paid time off that you accrue. You're going to get paid more for holidays. And that was historically has always been a draw. Now, man, it's switched. People they want that flexibility, and sure, a couple bucks more is nice, but I don't want a set schedule. I want to be able to pick and choose when I work and when I don't want to work. And I don't care about benefits and I don't care about PTO. I want more flexibility. And so, we have right now, people used to very rarely leave a community like ours to go work for like a staffing agency because it creates instability in their lives and people like stability. But now it's the complete opposite. People are thinking, man, I just want to be able to work whenever I want to work and not work when I don't want to work. And so I'm going to leave and I'm going to go work at a staffing agency. And so we're in this difficult situation where we have to figure out, okay, what are the true motivators and how can we adapt what we do to keep our existing team members engaged and motivated, and also, bring in new talent and replace the talent that's decided to move on to other opportunities. And a significant part of that is wages. Historically, every year after year, our average increase per, wage increase per team member, we typically budget 4%. Comparing our wages year to date to last year, same time, we're somewhere between 15 and 20% higher than we were last year, which is huge. And it's, what I'm thinking in the back of my mind, I'm thinking all the time is, okay, how do we make this work? Because I'm sure none of you would be super excited if I say, okay, great news, next year, 20%, increase monthly fees, right? You'd all pack up your bags and you'd move and you'd go live somewhere else. And rightfully so. And so I don't know what the point I'm trying to make is, other than I get it. And we need to make sure that we are finding new opportunities and ways to be more efficient, looking at the things like the iPads in the dining room and making sure that they're working properly, so that that's not the one thing that puts that server over the edge and says, forget this, I'm out of here. If, they can't even get the iPads to work. What's that? Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I actually met this morning with our regional dining director, dining operations director. And we are exploring other opportunities where we can improve the dining experience that will not, in ways that, are not just totally dependent on servers in the dining room. So we haven't really made any decisions, and we're far from making any decisions, but I mean, we're exploring all sorts of things. We're exploring robots. We're exploring having tablets on the tables where residents, if they'd like to do so, can place their orders on their own. We're exploring making the to-go experience better and easier. We're exploring ways to make the meal delivery experience better through some technological advancements. We'll go Gunilla and then Sharon. Yeah. So the comment was, there was a restaurant next to Whole Foods that tried tablets on the table and they were around for 2 months and not anymore. Ms. Roth. Yeah. Yeah. So the comment was that, there were some chuckles when I mentioned the idea of robots, but there are two communities within Human Good that are piloting the use of some robots in some of their dining rooms. And I mean, it's some of these things sound totally crazy and off the wall, and some of the things that we're looking at, maybe they are totally crazy and off the wall. But the reality is, like, what we're doing and what we've done for the last 30 years here at the terraces, like, we can't do it the same way, and we need to explore those crazy ideas until we find the ones that really will make an impact and make a difference. Bart, let's do it.
Guilty for not calling anything in, but then again, I wasn't sure where to call, because you read the documentation that come out that says someone is in charge of the terraces over the weekend. Well, now some of them are on call in charge. We need to have the phone number, and I don't think you should place that responsibility on the concierge to call whoever's going to be in charge. I think we need to have a phone number published, and whoever is going to be running the terraces, wherever they may be, if they can run it from home, okay. If they're going to be here, publish their phone number here, but say who is going to be, you have to call, and not the concierge.
That's a great point. And you have yeah.
Somebody to call with a phone number. Somebody that's going to take action.
Okay.
Not have the concierge do that. Directly to the person responsible for the action required.
Good suggestion. So just so everyone is aware, historically what we have done is we've had each weekend there's a manager on duty that's designated, and that manager is typically here on site one day, Saturday or Sunday, and then available on call for the alternate weekend. But you bring up a good point of, is there a way to be able to contact that person directly and not have to contact the concierge, who then in turn needs to, amongst all of the other things that they're doing, try to contact whoever the manager on duty is, and then have the manager on duty contact. Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever is required, so that we know what individual management type.
Yeah.
Individual we call concierge.
Uh-huh. Yeah. That's a good. Yeah. That's a good comment. And there's a few ideas that immediately come to mind that take back to our leadership team, and we can explore a little further. I appreciate you bringing that up. Yeah. Yeah. Gunilla. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Well, Christy's here right in time so we can change the subject. Well, Christy, thank you for joining us. I know you have a lot going on, but I mentioned earlier that you were going to give a few updates on some of our recruitment efforts. So I'll pass the mic over to you.
My apologies for being delayed today, but I wanted to give you an update. I know many of you were kind enough to stop in and say hi during our hiring fair that was last Wednesday, the 18th. I know you saw the signs and balloons. So it was a very successful day, and I know many of you even volunteered to, clean chairs, and I think Figaro was going to clean up the floor, and she didn't want me to tell that anybody else, so Figaro would get the job. So thank you. Many of you even volunteered. But I wanted to give you the update of where we were at. We had 32 people that RSVP'd to come to the fair. Out of the 32, 20 people did come. There's always people that, just like any other party or event, some don't come. We had 20 people that came. We extended 4 offers right then and there that particular day. And then we had 7 other candidates that we were looking at a little bit more. We needed to get a few more answers to the questions that we had. So the offers that we sent out that particular day was we had dishwashers, we had a wait staff, we had a CNA, and I know we're looking at a couple of nurses as well. So I did want to give you the update on that, and we still have other candidates. We're still sourcing in our recruiting system. We use something called UKG. It's Ultimate Kronos Group is what UKG stands for. It's kind of a one-stop shop that we can use for people to apply to. We look at time and attendance, all of that good stuff, all kind of HR talk. But that's where we're at. Is there any questions or comments, feedback at all for us? Yes. The ones that have, all of them had accepted the offers. So good question. Yeah. So we send out emails letting them know all the fun stuff they get to complete now that they've accepted an offer. And so we have started that process where they're coming in. In fact, Andrea met with one person today to get some of that started as well. We really can start people soon, but the delay is them going to do the tasks they need to do. So we can do 2 tasks here, which is the physical and the TB. We have them go over by Good Sam to get their urine drug screen done. And then we've located a place in Campbell that can do our live scan fingerprinting. Those all have to come back clear before they can actually start and pass. So if for some reason they get delayed and they can't get out to wherever they're going, then that can delay the process. But when I hired Andrea, she was able to complete everything within a week, and if all passes, so, not to pass it on, but the buck, but really it's the candidates we try to, encourage, please get it done. Some candidates also, if they're currently employed, want to give a 2 weeks notice after they know they're completely clear. So then that we have to wait for that. So that's why it can take a little bit longer. It's many times because of those reasons. But yes, but if they were to move on it, they can start quickly. Yes. Good questions. Well, yes. You're talking about like the actual servers, wait staff? No, we do have a couple more that we are trying to hire. We were trying to hire a high school student. We were waiting for her to finish school. And then we found out she was moving, her parents, her and her family were moving out of the area. So we're hoping that our current students can work a little bit more too, because they're going to be finishing up with high school or college. But we do have a couple of other ones that we are looking at as well. I think Sherry had mentioned 2 or 3. Does that sound right, Bradley? Somewhere in there. It depends what shift, what time, weekends.
It technically we could probably, if all the stars aligned, if we had 3, maybe 4 full-time team members. But the issue goes back to the flexibility. So it may in fact be 6 or 7 team members that we would need to hire to be able to fill all of the shifts that need to be filled. So it seems like a simple question of how many people do you need to, are you looking to hire? It's unfortunately not that simple. It would be simple if everyone were just available to work whenever we needed them to work. But in reality, probably 4 to 5 team members is what we would hope to be hiring. It's 2:31, 2:32. Ooh, oh man, that is a good question. And sorry, we are out of time, everybody. So the question was about the one meal on Sundays, the dining room closed on for dinner. That will likely not be a permanent thing. Oh, they like it because we don't have to beg them to work another extra shift, but we're sort of figuring that all out right now, and what we're doing now is probably not what we will be doing in the coming weeks. Yeah, and based on feedback that we received as well, we're probably not going to do the farmers market in the same way that we did it the last time. So we haven't totally ironed out the details, but we're sort of reevaluating that, and we'll probably be making some changes as well. So. Well, we're out of time. Enrique is going to come and kick us out so he can set up the rest of the tables. But thank you all for being here. We'll see you later next Thursday, 3:30 for State of Business.